Many attempts have been made to translate the Bible into modern English, which in this context is defined as the form of English in use after 1800. Development of modern English Bible versions. The Authorized King James Version of 1611 was sporadically altered until 1769, but was not thoroughly updated until the creation of the Revised Version in 1885. It was not until the Revised Standard Version of 1952 that a rival to the KJV was composed, nearly 350 years after the KJV was first published. The RSV gained widespread adoption among the mainstream Protestant churches in America, and a Catholic edition was released in 1962. It was updated as the New Revised Standard Version in 1989. In the late 20th century, Bibles increasingly appeared that were much less literal in their approach to translation. In 1946, the New English Bible was initiated in the United Kingdom, intended to enable readers to better understand the King James Bible. In 1958, J.B. Phillips produced an edition of the New Testament Letters and Paraphrase, the Letters to Young Churches, so that members of his youth group could understand what the New Testament authors had written. In 1966, Good News for Modern Man, a non-literal translation of the New Testament, was released to wide acceptance. Others followed suit. The Living Bible, released in 1971, was published by its author Kenneth N. Taylor, based on the literal American Standard Version of 1901. Taylor had begun because of the trouble his children had in understanding the literal text of the King James Bible. His work was at first intended for children, but was later positioned for marketing to high school and college students, as well as adults wishing to better understand the Bible. Like Phillips' version, the Living Bible was a dramatic departure from the King James Version. Despite widespread criticism due to being a paraphrase rather than a translation, the popularity of the Living Bible created a demand for a new approach to translating the Bible into contemporary English called dynamic equivalence, which attempts to preserve the meaning of the original text in a readable way. Realizing the immense benefits of a Bible that was more easily accessible to the average reader, and responding to the criticisms of the Living Bible, the American Bible Society extended the Good News for Modern Man to the Good News Bible by adding the Old Testament, in this more readable style. This translation has gone on to become one of the best-selling in history. In 1996, a new revision of Taylor's Living Bible was published. This new living translation is a full translation from the original languages rather than a paraphrase of the Bible. Another project aimed to create something in between the very literal translation of the King James Bible and the more informal Good News Bible. The goal of this was to create a Bible that would be scholarly yet not overly formal. The result of this project was the New International Version. This version became highly popular in evangelical Protestant circles. The debate between the formal equivalence and dynamic equivalence translation styles has increased with the introduction of inclusive language versions. Various terms are employed to defend or attack this development, such as feminist, gender-neutral, or gender-accurate. New editions of some previous translations have been updated to take this change in language into account, including the New Revised Standard Version, the Revised English Bible, and today's New International Version. Some translations have approached the issue more cautiously, such as the English Standard Version. A further process that has assisted in increasing the number of English Bible versions exponentially, is the use of the Internet and producing virtual Bibles, of which a growing number are beginning to appear in print, especially given the development of print on demand. Today, there is a range of translations ranging from the most literal, such as the Young's literal translation, to the most free, such as the Message and the Word on the Street. 18th and 19th century translations. 20th and 21st century translations. King James Version and derivatives. The King James Version of 1769 still has an immense following, and as such there have been a number of different attempts to update or improve upon it. The English Revised Version and its derivatives also stem from the King James Version. English Revised Version and derivatives. The English Revised Version was the first official attempt to update the King James Version of 1769. This was adapted in the United States as the American Standard Version. The translations and versions that stem from them are shown in date order. New International Version and derivatives equals. The popular New International Version has appeared in a number of editions. Dynamic translations and paraphrases equals. A significant aspect in translations from the latter half of the 20th century was much greater use of the principles of dynamic equivalence. Internet-based translations equals. The New English Translation is a project to publish a translation of the Bible using the Internet. It is freely available and accompanied by extensive translator's notes. Another is the Work of God's Children Illustrated Bible, which uses a collaborative media wiki website that interlinks the words of the Bible to articles and image galleries about the topic. The Open English Bible aims to create the first modern public domain English translation of the Bible, using an open-source process for corrections and modernizing verses. Messianic translations equals. Some Bible translations find popular use in, or were prepared especially for, the Messianic Judaism movement. New English Bible and derivatives equals. The initiative to create the New English Bible began in 1946, in an attempt to make an entirely new translation of the Bible in modern English. Public domain translations equals. Catholic translations equals. One released in parts between 1913 and 1935 with copious study and textual notes. The New Testament with condensed notes was released in 1936 as one volume 2 NT released in 1941. The OT contained material from the Challoner revision until the entire OT was completed in 1969. This Old Testament went on to be the base for the 1970 NAB3 New Testament only. Gospels by James Cleist, Rest by Joseph Lilly for Second Catholic edition released 2006. In addition to the above Catholic English Bibles, all of which have an imprimatur granted by a Catholic bishop, the authors of the Catholic Public Domain version of 2009 and the Work of God's Children Illustrated Bible of 2010 refer to them as Catholic Bibles. Additionally, in September 2013 The Message, a paraphrase of the Holy Bible, released a Catholic Ecumenical Edition. However, these three versions have not been granted an imprimatur, so they're technically not Catholic Bibles per se, but are versions of the sacred scriptures that utilize the Catholic biblical canon of 73 books. Sacred name translations equals. These sacred name Bibles were all done with the specific aim of carrying into English the actual name of God as they were in the originals. Most have been done by people from the sacred name movement. They are distinguished by their policy of transliterating Hebrew-based forms for sacred names, such as Yahweh, YHWH, etc. Masoretic text/Jewish translations equals. Jewish translations follow the Masoretic text, and are usually published in bilingual editions with the Hebrew text facing the English translation. The translations often reflect traditional Jewish exegesis of the Bible. As translations of the Masoretic Bible, Jewish translations contain neither the Apocrypha nor the Christian New Testament. Septuagint translations equals. Simplified English Bibles equals. There have been a number of attempts to produce a Bible that greatly simplifies the English. These are translations that are not necessarily a very dynamic translation, but go beyond simply everyday English into a restricted vocabulary set, often aimed at non-native speakers of English. Translations exclusively published by Jehovah's Witnesses equals. Translations exclusively published by the Latter-day Saints movement equals. Adaptive retellings equals. Some versions have been labeled adaptive retelling as they take many liberties with the form of the text. Other translations equals. Partial translations. New Testament equals. Hebrew Bible equals. See also, Bible translations, for a view of translation into languages other than English. Bible errata, list of English Bible translations, Jewish English Bible translations, Bible version debate, list of Bible verses not included in modern translations, list of major textual variants in the New Testament, Bible translations into Broad Scots. References. External links, The Gender-Neutral Bible Controversy, an extensive list of English translations, OSIS User Manual Appendix D provides standard abbreviations for many translations.